Hey, Mrs. Cat here again with the last part of our discussion on Lab 1 mass and change. We're looking at part 4, the mass of burning steel wool. Now, this was the most surprising part for pretty much everybody, where we saw an increase in mass. So what we had here was an initial mass of 8.18 grams before that spread out steel wool was touched with the 9-volt battery. And after, we had a mass of 9.17 grams. So we have a significant increase here of almost a gram. Let's make this positive 0.99 grams. So mass definitely increased after the burning. One thing that I hope that we know at this point, especially after our coffee can demo, is that burning means that oxygen is needed. Okay, so a couple of things here that we know that the mass increased after the burning, so we know that there are going to be more particles after. Okay, because oxygen is needed for something to burn. Those particles are going to be oxygen particles. So there, oxygen. Okay, so where did the oxygen come from? Well, the oxygen came from the room. Okay, in the air. Whoops, can't spell. Came from the air. Okay, so here's what we got to do is we have to show these things, both the steel wool and the oxygen, in the before and the after picture. So I'm going to use the same color as I did before for the steel wool, which is that gray color. And then I want to show, well, let's go with red for oxygen. Okay, so I've got that spread out steel wool. I'm going to draw my before picture. I think I used 6 particles in my picture at the end of the last one. So I'm going to use 6 again. Just keep it simple and consistent. Now, the oxygen particles were in the air. They're gas. They are not combined with the steel wool until the burning takes place. So I'm going to take that oxygen and I want to show that it's above the steel wool in the air. Okay, they are not combined, right? So we have a couple of things that we need to make sure that we discuss before we draw this after picture. And one of those things is the fact that a chemical change took place. And there are a few different reasons why we know this is a chemical change. Okay. First of all, we saw an increase in mass due to a new substance forming. Okay, and we really actually saw this because the before and after of the steel wool, it looked different. Okay, after the steel wool was like a more dull gray color. Okay. And then the other thing here is that anytime something undergoes combustion or that it burns, that is a chemical process. So burning equals chemical process. Just like we did with the precipitate that we drew in part 3, when we had a chemical change that took place, we want to show the steel wool and the oxygen particles combined to make this new substance. those oxygen particles seemed to have combined with the steel wool, because the steel wool didn't really change shape, it really just changed color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my steel wool particles kind of in the same general area that they were in before. And then I want to add my oxygen particles in here. Now, actually, let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a couple more oxygen particles to my before picture because I want to show that there's still oxygen in the air. So let's see here. That gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 oxygen particles. I'm going to take one oxygen particle and put it on each of the steel wool particles. Again, you can just kind of put these on here however you like, as long as they are connected to show that we've got a new substance. That used up 6 oxygen particles. I want to show that the oxygen is still there in the air and that we haven't really lost it entirely. So I'm going to show those remaining 4 particles there as well.